Hello and welcome to News Express, exclusively brought to you by Business AM, Nigeria's fastest growing financial and business newspaper. I am Chukunonso Modi. Now we have interesting stories hitting the front page this week. Let's take a look. Now the big story, Nigeria, Africa sees steepest gain in budget transparency, accountability, IBF's survey. Sub-headlines, despite COVID-19 pandemic. Another sub-headline with South Korea spearheading Benin, Nigeria, Gambia among biggest improvers. Second headline says Nigerian brand at $3.2 billion trailed South Africa's $36.9 billion valuation. Sub-headlines, MTN $4.0 billion retains its position as Africa's most valuable brand. Second sub-headline says Digital Revolution helped Africa's top brands achieve 28% increased brand value to $50.1 billion. You should also check out Finance and Investments corner with reserves drop is in macroeconomics. News too, African entrepreneurs surge ahead. Definitely look out for commodities and agriculture, saying processing holds back cashew. Executive Knowledge Series 2 with title What It Means to Lead in Multipolar World. Definitely visionary voices with the global hunger crisis is here. Now let's bring in Philip Isakba, the publisher, Business AM, to help us make sense of the headlines. Good morning, Philip.
Good morning, Nonto. Another beautiful week here in the UK. We had a lovely Queen's celebration of the 70th Jubilee. And so the world is getting on to the economics now.
Amazing. Okay, let's get right into it. Now, the first headline says Nigeria, Africa sees steepest gain in budget transparency, accountability, IBP survey. Now, according to this new survey by the International Budget Partnership, which it unveiled in its latest open budget survey for 120 countries, the COVID-19 pandemic, which hit the global economy below the belt with the later losing a $12.5 trillion, says IMF revised forecasts did not, however, undo budgeting practices worldwide. Shed more light on this, Mr. Philip.
Well, I mean, the interesting thing about this story, and this is why we have chosen it to lead the paper this morning, is because of the word transparency and accountability and the fact that it is talking about Nigeria along with a group of other African countries, making some steep gains with regards to those two key words. You recall, I mean, everybody talks about it. Transparency is an issue. Even Transparency International will tell you that they have issues with many African countries, Nigeria particularly, especially having not risen quite high on the transparency listing, over the years, and then accountability, and then we talk about this in relation to the budgeting system, but this is an international organization that looks at budgeting and how budgeting is carried out in different countries, 120 countries in all of them that they have looked at, and they have seen that there have been an improvement with regards to how the process, with regard to spending, and how accountable those spendings have become. Perhaps we will look at this and say, oh, maybe this is as a result of the amount of attention that is paid to government spending nowadays. But they are coming around to say there has been some improvement. Of course, you know that these things are based on some indicators, some indices that they will look at, and they have looked at some of these indices, and they consider that there have been some improvements, And so perhaps this is as a result of, again, important because the COVID-19 situation did squeeze a lot with regards to available funding. Perhaps maybe that's why the accountability and the transparency, became an issue that Nigeria and some other African countries decided to pay attention to. Squeeze in the sense that perhaps there's no money, there wasn't money at this time, economies were down quite a lot, and without money to throw about, you needed to be very careful with regards to spending. In the case of Nigeria, of course, we've seen, but with regards to looking at the issues that leads to that they can put their hands on with regards to transparency, the accountability systems, they are saying that there have been some improvements, with regards to, particularly because of the steep jump. For instance, the Budget Transparency Survey noted that the average transparency score has increased more than 20% since 2008. That was when you coming to the end of the financial or the mid part of the financial crisis at the time. With West Eastern Europe, Central Asia, East Asia, and the Pacific, Latin American, Caribbean, and Sub-Saharan Africa making significant strides in transparency since 2008. So they have looked at this, that there have been some kind of improvement. Sub-Saharan Africa, for instance, has had the steepest improvement in budget transparency, according to this survey that was conducted. So legislative oversight has declined. So they say, due to political unrest, a pandemic, and executive overreach. But so some executive governments have found ways to undermine supreme audit institutions. So quite a lot of things we can look at. We can look at this report. We can look at what's going on in the country. We can look at the recent revelations with regards to the Accountant General Office in Nigeria. And still raise some questions with regards to what this thing is particularly talking about. But the whole idea is to draw attention back to the issue of transparency and accountability, especially as we enter this election circle. Where people are spending quite a lot of money trying to not only participate in the elections, by buying forms of 100 million naira, but also to look at how people are just money without being checked. So this is what this is all about.
It's also kind of noted that the pandemic did not undo hard-fought gains in the transparent and accountability budget practices worldwide, but then rather most countries were able to maintain and in some cases build on earlier gains in their annual budget processes, which takes me to what you just said about Nigeria and accountability. I don't think we are holding our leaders accountable.
Absolutely. We have seen particularly some reports that have come out in the last couple of weeks, that suggest that there's quite a lot of rot going on in the system. We have people, for instance, university lecturers or university system requiring a lot of money, in which you will expect that in disbursing funds, you will prioritize education, and ensure that enough money is devoted to the educational sector so that they can produce quality manpower for the economy and for the system, but that's been a major challenge, and it seems not to be happening, but then you will go to the budgeting system, how the envelope system is used to decide on the budgeting, but the truth is that there seems to be not an awful lot of money, to be able to deploy, so perhaps that has wisened people up and then made them more moderate in terms of their actions, in terms of how they will ordinarily, in the past, I think that money is not a problem. It is now a problem. And in terms of budgeting, there has to be quite a lot of transparency or accountability. But you're right when you say the checks and balances aren't people will expect them to, and that is something that remains to be dealt with.
Now, according to this, to Gag in this article, he says that open budget practices are a winning proposition. They build public trust that government can deliver, and it can also lead to lower borrowing costs at a time when global debt and inequality is at an all-time high. Now, it is somewhat surprising that Nigeria still entered into this list. I mean, we are still struggling with this. But then we are in this list and they're saying Nigeria, Africa is going to see steepest gain in this budget transparency. What does it mean for our economy?
Well, I mean, open budgeting is it's linked to all the talk about transparency in terms of letting everybody know what is going in, and what is coming in. For instance, in terms of we have some institutions that contribute, for instance, to the revenue earnings, that for decades have been considered to be opaque in terms of their operations, in terms of how, and then you come to when you're able to say this is the amount of money you want to spend, and then you are not too sure where the money is going to. So open budgeting will mean that everybody sees what we have, everybody sees what's going to different places, and everybody knows where exactly the monies will go to, and then you have a sense of involvement, We've always talked about the bottom-up approach to managing situations, whether you're managing the economy or managing the finances, that a bottom-up approach would be one that is transparent, seeking specifically what people need, and making sure that those things are what you are budgeting for. You're not talking about a group of people sat in the National Assembly, we had that particular problem. You recall that the budget was sent in and sent back, and
back
then
forth.
Back and forth, and then there was a serious complaint by the president, President Buhari, that they have indeed removed certain items and put some items more than what the budget was supposed to accommodate, and that led to the shooting of the budget. Perhaps when a new report will come out, it will take into consideration that back and forth argument over what the budget really contained. People have sat at the National Assembly, and they have thought that the executive decision, with regards to some spending, should be what you call tampered with, and that what will meet their own needs, especially with regards to constituency projects, should be put in the budget, and that isn't really transparent, because it seems to me that the consultation, who consulted who, the executive, who did executive consult, the legislatures, who did they consult with regards to what they were putting into the budget, so that defeats openness, because without the people getting involved, it's difficult to tell, exactly who is being served by a particular kind of budget, So there's still a challenge, it's the fascinating. I'm like you were fascinated. We were fascinated by the fact that Nigeria is on the list. But they talked about steepest improvement. Doesn't mean that all is well. Doesn't mean that. They are giving an okay, they're only saying that there seems to be an attempt to really improve on transparency and what's it called and accountability with regards to the budgeting cycle or budgeting system. So that's exactly this report is about. It's not like it's given all clear, The Nigerian country manager for for the IBP, the people who conducted this 120 country survey, did say, inclusion pays dividends. We urge governments to sustain progress and engage communities more meaningfully around their revenue and spending priorities. So those are the things that they were looking at, how people were engaged. You can look at when the legislators talk about constituency projects, you would think they are consulting widely, they are reaching out to the people, and the people are coming to them to say, this is what we need. If those things have been reflected in the budgeting system, in the budgeting, then of course that is openness, and that is transparency and some form of accountability. What happens in the end might be a different thing entirely, whether those things are executed, but there's been an attempt, to try to get a buy-in from the people or the communities, or that the people engage with the communities and engage with the people concerned, for their particular interest to be taken on board while these things are being done. But the key thing remains, where's the money coming from? Is there transparency with regards to that? Is there accountability? We've heard of a particular person, sitting on top of 80 billion or more billions, that did not belong to him, but belonged to the country, or belonged to systems that were supposed to be used to execute some kind of project, that seem to have been cornered by just one person. And that's really dangerous. So you can have accountability and transparency with regards to getting information, and getting all becomes a problem, because it might turn out that those projects are not executed with regards to deploying the financial resources to provide those things that you have sought from the communities with regards to their views and opinions. So that is a major problem, and that's might not tally with this report, because they might have done the right things with regards to asking questions, making sure that they got buy-ins from the communities, or buy-in from the people, but does not also mean that those projects were executed, to meet the needs of the people.
Honestly, there is a lot going on, and as much as this report says we have gained, like you said, there's still so much underneath, and not just at the surface. Okay, let's go to the second headline, which says Nigerian brands at $3.2 billion trailed South Africa's $36.9 billion valuation. Now, South African brands with value up by African continent draft Nigerian brands which value up by 35% came to just $3.2 billion in valuation. This is according to Brand Finance's latest brand valuation report. What was this result based on, Mr. Philip?
This is quite an interesting thing. Biggest economy in the continent, at 460 plus $billion, compared to South Africa, I think South Africa, 200 or so, or $300 billion with regards to GDP size. You will expect that the big brands, in terms of value, will be here. We have made an inroad into. Some of our companies have tried to make an inroad into other African countries. The Dangote cement it's in different countries. The banks are all over West Africa, and then going across to East and Central, and as well as Southern Africa. But you look at the value of the brand, and then you compare it. You find that not enough attention has been paid to the quality of the brand that we have. Because at 3.2 billion, the key brands in the country, and compare that to South Africa, the brand said at 36.9 billion in terms of the what do you call what this is all about is that if you took a name like an MTN, and you want to value it, and you want to sell it, you'll be selling it for far a lot, MTN is regarded as the brand, what they have built into it, the reputation, the business that they do, the weight that you put on it, with regards to what it's worth, it's put at $4 billion. $4 billion. That's quite a lot, and it shows how much the company has spread. What the company is doing. With regards to its businesses across Africa. In terms of how it impacts on people. This is different from. When you say people have an opinion, this is the real thing with regards to the worth, of the name that you carry about. When you say an MTN, you say maybe another company, and this is what this is all about. This is very interesting, especially when you look at the size of the different the economies, So the big economies, Egypt has brand value, which rose by 42%, but only doing 3.1 billion rands, for instance, top brands in Morocco. Of course, value up at 14%, but still it's $2.6 billion. Kenya, another big name, on the continent, has brand value rose significantly at 69%, but just to 2.1 billion. Now, can I compare all of that? You put them side by side. We're looking at, we're talking about Africa 150 ranking, where this a total of 150 brands are ranked, and you compare that to brand valuation from South Africa, which is 36.9 billion naira. So we're looking at, and that's what we are doing. We are doing with this, the collaboration that we have. In Business AM, African Business Radio, you build all of that into ensuring that in terms of integrity, in terms of quality, in terms of at the end of the day, the brand value keeps rising, believability, and then when you take it to the market, you find that it's really expensive, so that's what this report is about. That when you compare Nigeria, put Nigeria side by side with South Africa, the brands in Nigeria, top brands in Nigeria, have a valuation of just 3.2 billion naira, compared to South Africa. Again, it's how international the brands are. So you can have a brand that is very local, just concentrating on an area. If it's not able to expand itself, it's not able to have international clout, the valuation will not be that high. So one of the big brands, I think a big company, the Dangote is a big brand in Nigeria. It is extending itself. But you can go to a place and perhaps they're asking what brand is this, and so valuation might not be high in such a territory or in such a place, but. So more international the brand is, more acceptable it is globally, the value begins to rise. But the value is also rising with regard to that we are reading about.
Truly, brands in Nigeria need to look out and see what it is that South Africa is doing, because it's not just MTN from South Africa now that's in Nigeria. We have MultiChoice, we have other brands that are really doing big things. Now, this brings me to this question: do you think South African brands will continue to dominate the ranking?
Well, if you look at the environment under which business is done, you would say yes. They will dominate for quite some time to come, Again, it's about the consciousness that is brought into play, with regards to how the brand, how people are protective of the brand and how they try to grow the brand, it will be interesting to see how where the challenge is going to come from. It should come naturally from Nigeria, especially as they expand globally. What you found quite a lot is that the Nigeria's brands were insular, remaining in the country, for quite a long time and not extending their reach. But with some of them beginning to go out, it's not just going out. You see, when MTN comes to Nigeria, when MultiChoice comes to Nigeria, when others come to Nigeria from South Africa, you see that the operation in country, in Nigeria, does not differ, from the operation back from where they're coming from. So the question to ask is whether when we move out, we just move out. Nigerian brands, when they move out, whether they just move out to look at the P&L, profit and loss account, to see it's just about making money. The thing is that brands need to be built. Hopefully, they will get protected. That they will expand in such a way, that the businesses that they do are transparent and get a lot of what you call interest, from local markets, and that they also do profitable business as well, because you have to have a lot of following, you have to have a lot of what you call not just following, but also ensure that the business you are doing is a valuable business with regards to your balance sheet.
All right. Hopefully Nigeria learns from South Africa and, we come on top next time.
Yes, we hope so too.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Philip. We'll definitely see how the stories develop this week.
Thank you, Nonso. Have a great week.
You too. That was Philip Isakba, the publisher of Business AM, Nigeria's fastest growing financial and business newspaper. You can listen again by going to www.africabusinessradio and clicking on the News Express podcast. That's all for now. Stay tuned for more.